Uh, so I think we are live. I hope that I am audible to all dear students in the official Facebook page of Shri Shikshayatam College. So very good evening to everyone, all my dear students, all my colleagues, everyone. Uh, we all are living through these uncertain times in this unprecedented crisis. The global pandemic has truly led us to a forced isolation. However, it is through these virtual platforms that we can connect with each other. So, with no further delay, let me ask our dear student Saloni Jaiswal to give the welcome note and introduce our honorable speaker for the evening. Thank you.
Good evening, all. I, Saloni Jaiswal, a student of Shri Shikshayatan College, welcome all the professors, our esteemed guest, Dr. Anuttama Banerjee, and the students in this virtual platform for a webinar on mental well-being, a positive way to deal post isolation and career anxieties, organized by the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, NSS Unit, and the Students' Council of Shri Shikshayatan College. The corona pandemic has led to a global crisis, to uncertainty in the life of every individual. However, in these trying times, technology has enabled us to stay connected and look forward to this new normal, in spite of such post isolation. This web talk is a timely initiative to address the anxieties and the apprehensions that we all are confronting in our lives. Our guest for today is Dr. Anuttama Banerjee, consultant psychologist and academic mentor. Dr. Banerjee has a PhD in clinical psychology from the University of Calcutta. She conducts extensive workshops on gender and sexuality issues with various NGOs and academic bodies. She is a governing body member of Eastern Zonal Psychological Association. Her opinions on various psychological issues are highlighted in both the electronic and print media, thus making her a well-known personality in the area of mental health. We welcome you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Saloni, thank you, Debolina. And I would formally like to thank Sri Shikshatan College for creating this platform where we can interact, as Saloni was very correctly saying, that though it's a difficult time, but we are virtually connected. We can share our thoughts, and thus we can try and stay connected as much as possible. So I'll straight away go to the topic. Today's topic is staying positive when we have to be, in this post isolation and when we are confronting career anxieties. Needless to say, it's a very difficult time for all of us. We are not only negotiating with changes, actually, negotiating with changes, if we say that, we would be putting it too mildly. We are negotiating with challenges. We are mostly negotiating with difficulties because this change is not chosen by us. We were not ready for it. It wasn't a planned change. Things just happened. One fine day, or maybe a not so fine day, we came to know that life is no longer the same. Particularly, the academic world is going through a major challenge because our regular classes, our exams, our course of syllabi, our own plans, everything is on hold right now. We know that for our own safety, for our own health reasons, we have to take certain measures, we have to accept certain precautions. But certainly, that is not being very nice for us to accept. It is not easy for us to accept. And also, it is not going to take away the anxieties that we are constantly bargaining with. So, I would first tell you that when we are trying to feel positive, it is absolutely all right not to feel positive. That's the first thing that I would like to tell all the students and the team members of this college. Sometimes, when we are forcing ourselves to feel something which is not really happening, spontaneously, that itself is a pressure. When nothing is becoming positive other than COVID-19 positive, which is not definitely a very positive state of mind, how can we feel positive? How can we expect to be not stressed? How can we expect not to be anxious? How can we expect to feel happy when every day we are seeing the number is rising? When
ever we are reading the newspaper, we are listening to some sort of information in the TV channels, or we are kind of flipping through the notifications in social media, we constantly see the spike, the number of infections in this particular state, in our own state, in that particular country. How can we feel comfortable with this number? So, in one hand, we have to accept that the situation is very difficult. Yes, it's a pandemic situation. In this sort of a situation, when so many changes are imposed on us and we are kind of bound to accept them for our own reasons, for our own safety, we would not feel too good about life. And that's understandable. If we try and run away from our feelings, then that itself would be a new stressor. So, my dear students, please do not feel weak, or do not label yourselves as a weak person if you are losing it. If you feel, earlier I was pretty strong, this time I'm just breaking. I'm being too anxious, I can't fall asleep. I'm too worried about my parents, or maybe I'm extremely worried about my partner, or I'm worried about myself. It's absolutely all right. Or I'm worried about my career. I'll come to that and we would elaborately discuss that. It is absolutely okay to feel, at a loss, because the situation is such. I often think that when the situation is very abnormal, it is normal to behave this way. It is normal to be, scared, afraid, anxious. Sometimes we are overreading our symptoms, even when we are feeling uncomfortable slightly. We are concluding that maybe we are infected. And that is also taking a toll on our health, taking a toll on our mental health. So, how can we negotiate with so much negativity? That is something that we would try and explore together in today's session. So, the first thing is we would not question this negative feeling. We would accept that it is okay to feel this way. It is understandable. It is rather realistic to feel negative when the situation is negative. But then, how can we negotiate with it? How can we develop resilience? How can we develop perseverance so that we can deal with this negative situation? So I'll talk about few anxieties which are directly related to our academic world. I'll come to the online class platform. I'll first talk about that because in my recent conversations and many webinars with the students, the questions that I have often kind of heard from them. So I'll start with those questions. Students are not being able to concentrate at a long stretch when the online classes are held. Now, again, I would tell you it's not easy to focus your attention in the online classroom. Yes, it's going to be difficult. Two, you may not feel that motivated to do the online class all the time. That is also understandable. For example, right now, the way we are going about in this particular session, earlier when you had seminars in your college, you all had different energy level. Since the morning, students get ready, they all team up, the responsibilities are divided. We all have a completely different experience about seminar. Things have completely changed. And this experience is different. And let us be honest, it is not as good as things used to be. It's the same story with online classes. The first difference is in the academic environment. The whole classroom, your own desk where you go and you sit, you talk to your friends, your teacher comes, that adds to the academic cues. We need to set the environment in such a way so that we feel academically ready. That readiness is decreasing whenever we are doing online classes because the classroom has come to visit us. The room where you were probably lying down and watching a series, suddenly you have to get up and you have to conduct your class there, and you have to listen to your teacher there. So the same room is being used for a very formal situation. That itself can be a hindrance. And sometimes there are technical glitches. Maybe the voice is breaking, maybe my internet connection is poor, and we automatically feel that we are not being able to concentrate, we are not being able to focus ourselves. The other part, which is a major challenge in online classroom, is staying involved with the faculty member. Because in the regular classroom we can see the person, we can see our other friends. Here We don't see each other. There are circles at times appearing. Only the names are appearing. It's not easy. Even the teacher can catch hold of you in the regular classrooms in case you're not listening, but here it's not easy for them because they do not have eye contact with you. You may keep the laptop on and you may do certain other things. Sometimes students do that. But your teacher would not be able to understand that because it's a completely different platform. So, all these challenges are there during our regular classes, during our regular learning process. Another issue, which is adding on to our anxieties, is whenever we are doing classes, sometimes we are doing them regularly, sometimes we are not feeling too good, but we are bombarded with anxieties whenever we are thinking about the exams. Sometimes we are worried about whether the exam will at all take place or not. Sometimes we are thinking that if it's that way delayed, if it's going to take that much of time, when shall we complete the course and what will happen after that? Maybe some of you had plans to travel abroad. Maybe some of you had plans to go to another state to, join the next set of course. Everything is on hold right now. Things are moving, but slowly. Things are moving with uncertainty. As Debolina very correctly mentioned, we're constantly dealing with anxieties and uncertainties. And that is equally demoralizing. Sometimes we are hearing that the exam would not take place, perhaps an average number would be given. For some students, that's extremely painful. Maybe you thought that in my last exam, I'll give my best shot, and suddenly I come to know that that exam is not going to take place. Of course, it's not going to be easy for any one of us to deal with that sort of a situation. So, I can share few strategies which we can try and implement maybe to deal with the situation, because when the situation is not under our control, we can try and see what can we do to be least impacted by it. It's like, a few moments back it was raining out here, so if it's raining, we cannot stop the rain, but we can ensure so that we are not drenched. That's all that we have under our control. So what we can do is at this point, maybe, yes, I can see comments coming. I'll just tell you, dear students, that once I'm done with my part of the session, maybe after that I can open it for the discussion, and I would be taking your comments and your questions. So that would probably be helpful for all of us. All right. So I'll go back to the thread of conversation where I was. So maybe when we are talking about concentrating in the online classes, I'll first come to that part. What we may try and do is you can create a specific corner in your room, which is a formal setup where you would be available to your during your classes. Perhaps you would try to avoid keeping that corner for other pleasurable activities. Maybe you can try and segregate if there is provision in the house. Maybe you can try and do that. You can try and create that space as distraction free as possible. You can request your other family members if that's a possibility. If there is no such possibility, if you do not have a room at your disposal, you can try and negotiate with some of your family members if there can be one corner where, while you hold the class, where you are, in the session, when you are listening to your faculty members, others are not really, creating noise or something as much as possible. That's the first thing that I would tell you, because you need to feel ready for the class. Secondly, if your classes are starting at 10 a.m., I'm just randomly saying, do not wake up at 9:45 a.m. I know many of you are doing that, because we tend to do that when our regular timetables are all disrupted. We have developed the tendency to stay up late because our sleep cycle is also disturbed these days. So we kind of wake up and we rush to the computer, we switch it on, we are almost in our night clothes. Please don't do that, because you have to feel ready from within. Even if it is an online class, be ready for it in such a way that you feel good about yourself. You do things for your own motivation. Yes, we need the intrinsic motivation much more at this hour of the day, because external factors might not be available. And as I was telling you, my dear students, when the external cues are unavailable, I have to do things for my own benefit. Now, once you are ready for the class, once you start the class, I understand that there are moments when your concentration level might drop as we were discussing at the beginning, that since you can't see your other friends, since the whole energy level is different in the online classroom, maybe you can keep a small notepad. Whatever is being delivered, try and put some basic points there the way you used to do in your own classes, so that you can stay connected with the sender or the teacher. That is extremely important, because if you do that, that would in a way help you to understand where I have distracted myself, or where I haven't heard what my teacher was saying. And in case you lose your certain portion, after the class is over, you can clarify those areas. And I would also request the team members, the academic team members, the teachers who are participating in this session, please try to call the students by their names while conducting the class as much as possible. That creates the sense of involvement. We could otherwise look at the students when we used to hold physical classes. Here we cannot do that. They cannot understand whether we are pointing at them or not. So we have to call their names when we are saying, so this is my question, please specify to whom you are asking. Otherwise they would not understand. And this also if we take the names, if we involve the students, that would help them to stay connected further. So that's a small suggestion to the fraternity members, to the academic team members. And this is also for the students, that once the class is done, if you have any doubt, if you have any query, please clarify at the end of the class. Maybe the teachers can also keep some time for your doubt clearing. And try and gather as much as possible from this classroom, because we have to understand, we may not like this mode, but whatever we are learning today, that would stay with us. Yes, it's true that the exams are uncertain, but you're learning the content that you are learning today, that would stay with you. Here I would ask you another question, my dear student. You don't have to answer me right now. This is for your own reflection. There are moments when we say that exams are not everything, ma'am. Marks do not say everything about me. Sometimes you people do say that, I know that I'm much better, but perhaps that was not my day, which is why my exam didn't go well. This is the time that you tell yourself this. Yes, exams are not everything. That cannot tell you everything about your potential. And that is precisely why, even if the exam scenario is little haywire, even if the exam scenario is not satisfactory at this point, because of a situation, because of a holistic situation, a global situation, perhaps you can tell yourself that that is not the only marker which should determine my academic potential. Things that I would learn today would stay with me after 5 years, when perhaps you would be vaccinated. We'll all be vaccinated, at least we hope. Maybe at that time, things that you would be learning today in an online classroom will be required. At that time, what you got in your examination, nobody will remember. Somewhere we have to put things in that greater perspective. There comes the role of career. When we talk about career anxiety, we have to understand career is a much larger term. Career is about your holistic goal, your future goal. Career is not about your existing classroom. Career is not even about a small work that you are doing just to earn some extra pocket money. That's a job that pays your bills. That's not career. Career is something else. So ask yourself time and again, that where do I want to see myself career wise? Maybe down the line, maybe after 2 years. So, what is the course of action that I would like to take? And once you have a clear goal, once you know that where I want to reach, please know that the hindrance that you are facing is the hindrance in the path. The goal is not taken away from you. It's like when you come home, if the road which you take usually to return, if that is closed for some reason, if people are at work there, do you stop coming back to your own place, or you take another path? It's the same story. If you have decided about a goal, a career goal, you have to see that if this path is not working, which could be the alternative path? If this is where I'm getting stuck, which would be my alternative way? That is something we have to negotiate with. Yes, it would be difficult, it would be frustrating, and we have to deal with the frustrations. We have to come up with new techniques, but we cannot give up on our goals. So, whenever you're anxious about your career, ask yourself, am I frustrated about the goal? Do I want to redefine my goal? Even that may happen. It may happen that maybe in the first year of my college, I was thinking that I would be such and such. In the last year of my college, I have decided to be something else. That's okay. That's possible. But that is a different introspective journey that you have to take with yourself. That is not related to this pandemic. That's your inner quest. That's your inner journey. But the other problems that we are facing vis a vis the academic course of work, the classes, the exams, the uncertainties about jobs, these things would not finally remove my intended goal from me. That is the conviction that you need to have. I would talk about few more issues that I have been hearing from the students while conducting my webinars and academic mentorship sessions. Uh, it is usually problematic to actually stay somewhat, disciplined during this pandemic situation because of the isolation, the lockdown, etc. Earlier, you had an academic routine. These days, it's very difficult to follow that. Many students have talked about it. So, I would tell you that I have never believed in a strict timetable. Trust me, students, even in my college days, even in my school days, I have never followed that. Like, I would wake up at 6 a.m. From 6:30 to 7:30 I would study this, then from 7:30 to 8:30 I would do yoga, then again at 9 a.m., blah blah blah. I decide that, and then one fine morning I wake up at 10 a.m. and our timetable goes for a toss. And then I decide, oh, okay, it didn't happen today, I would start from tomorrow. So I don't study at all. That is usually our relationship with the timetable. So, why setting a goal which you would not in any case follow? Change the goal. This is not a career goal, this is a path goal. You're creating a certain path to finish a certain objective, right? So, let's fix a goal which is attainable, which is adjustable. Maybe what you can do is you can decide that, okay, every day I would finish these targets. Do not form a timetable, form a task table. That's very important. You stay committed to the task that you have given to yourself. You become your own boss, you become your own authority figure. Yes, there are many things that you cannot control right now, but at least your tasks you can control, my dear students. How long this pandemic situation will go on, we can't control, but how can we still stay all right? How can we still try and be committed to our own small targets? We can decide that. So maybe what we can do is we can create certain targets. We can decide that, okay, tomorrow maybe I would be studying these three topics. And while you set a goal, it's very important to not decide to do something which you know you would not be able to finish. Like, I would complete this entire chapter. If you think that's difficult for you to fulfill, do not even set that goal, because that's something which is very problematic, that adds on to our frustration. You set that kind of a goal, you would not be able to finish it. The next day you would wake up with a sense of failure, with a sense of dissatisfaction, that I had thought I would do so much but I didn't do anything. Let us not start a day with this bitter taste in mouth. Let us rather decide something which is pretty much attainable, and we do it. We'll do it no matter what. Even if the whole world goes upside down, I will do it. Now, there come certain other factors. You decide to do it. Maybe there are three tasks that you have given to yourself. You may feel that, okay, I'll do it later. Let me just have a word with a friend of mine. Let me call that person, or let me just binge watch something. Usually, the things that we do, or let me just, lie down for a while and then I'll do it. I have a small suggestion about this tendency, this procrastination tendency, that if you rather finish the target that you have given to yourself, and if you then do things which you enjoy doing, actually your leisure time will be unadulterated. You will be far more relaxed even while binge watching a series. Something would not tick 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 inside your head to tell you you have an unfinished job, you have an unfinished job. You will not have that guilt. So rather finish the work and enjoy your leisure time. Do other things. Please keep some free time for yourself, but create your day's schedule in such a way that you will have certain tasks that you have to do, and you will have certain things that you love to do. Life is about creating a balance between these two. And you can do that. Trust me. Create certain tasks, finish those tasks, and then you go back to your leisure time. If you know that today I have my online classes till a certain period of time, after that, assign certain small academic goals that you would keep for yourself, for your own self study, because that is also important. And then you keep some time for your own entertainment, for your own relaxation. Perhaps that way you will have better sense of accomplishment and you would progress, because no matter what, our syllabi would not be changed. Our course of learning would not be entirely reduced. Nobody would reduce the load. Things would remain as it is. So I have to in any case finish my syllabi. I have to plan it accordingly. Sometimes we also have a tendency to forget things that we are studying. In fact, at this time, you would be facing this problem much more. Because of our anxieties, it will be difficult for us to focus our attention even when we are trying to comprehend something. Now, whenever you're distracted, I would say that it is important to understand what is distracting me. Maybe whenever I'm trying to study, something is happening in my headspace, something is coming in my headspace, and I'm being distracted. I would rather tell you, stop studying, give yourself some time, ask yourself, what is it? Because your anxieties want to have conversation with you. Your anxieties are coming and disturbing you because they want to have a dialogue with you. They want your attention. And if you run away, they will run after you. So rather, take some time out for your anxieties and ask them, okay, what is it? What is making me so worried? What is making me so scared? If you're that scared, list down the anxieties. Just write down things that are coming to your mind. Now, let's say you figure out there are 5 things that I'm worried about. I'm just giving you an example. Maybe there is one fear that, okay, what will happen in my future? There is second fear, will I be all right? Third fear, will my family members be all right? Fourth fear, what if I'm infected? Fifth fear. Like this, you have set of fears, anxieties. Now ask yourself, which one of them is going to be handled by me right now, or is it possible for me to handle right now? For example, what will happen in the future is a vague anxiety. None of us have any idea what will happen in the future. Trust me, my dear, we don't even know what will happen at 8 p.m. today. We don't know. We have some idea. We are planning things in a way, but that's a fiction. Whatever you plan for the future is actually a fiction because we haven't seen the future. In fact, this pandemic, this COVID-19 has also taught us. Maybe when we were in the month of January, we had different plans for this month. Things have changed, our priorities have changed, the situation has changed. So, no matter how worried you are about your future, which is completely unseen, even if you are worried about it, even if you are preparing for it, the situation might become completely different and you might have to come up with some new resources. It may so happen that you are worried about problem A and problem B will come your way. So rather, we would not think about things which are that far. We would not worry about a future which is so far away, which is so very uncertain. We would think about certain areas which we can control right now. What will happen in my future is a vague state. Whether I will ever get a job or not is a vague state. Well, probability says that you will never get a job is not really that probable. You may have difficulty in getting a job. It might get delayed. You may get job A, maybe you wanted to get job B. That's possible. But you would never be employed. That is probably not that probable. Now, I do not know exactly which job will I hold after 5 years. This is the situation right now. But I definitely know that today I have these set of academic targets to fulfill. If I do that, I would feel good about my academic course of life. So why shouldn't I do that? That is under my control. That is something that I can deal with. I definitely for sure know that this is my syllabus for this particular topic. This is my syllabus for the next semester's exam. Whether the exam happens or not, again, we don't know. But even if it does, then this is the syllabus that I know. Then let me do something about it. So, whenever you are finally looking at your list of anxieties, ask which are those anxieties that you can deal with and address them. Plan things for them. Do not brood over the areas which you cannot change, which you cannot modify, which you cannot control. Because by brooding over those issues, you are simply getting into a negative loop and you are not really solving the situation because it is not going to be solved right away. Sometimes we are worried about things which also might become redundant tomorrow. That is also another issue that I would like to talk about. Let me give you an example. Uh, this is a situation, this is a time when we often feel worried about relationship issues. I have often heard from my students that they are also facing a lot of problems in their interpersonal relationships. Sometimes it's with the family members, sometimes it's with the lover, sometimes it's with the friends. Maybe you had a very negative conversation with somebody that you love, and that is distracting you. You're not being able to study today. Maybe what you can tell yourself, okay, fine, let me try and finish at least this much, and after that I will again talk to that person. If I'm really losing my temper, I would put it on hold, the whole conversation, for a while. I'll tell that person that can we talk about it later when both of us are in better frame of minds. We can do that. If it is such a situation which has already gone out of your control, maybe you had a bad breakup, you cannot change the scenario, at least tell yourself that, okay, I might feel worst, I might feel terrible, I might feel devastated, but trust me, my gray hairs have taught me even this too shall pass. The problems, the pain that you feel is completely insurmountable, would never change, might become diluted over time. I'm not saying that you would forget about it. No, you would not forget, but the relevance decreases. So today's problem, today's concern would not determine the entire course of your life. Sometimes we have to give it time to just go over. It's like a high tide. It'll go, it shall pass. Give it some more time. Let us not conclude something absolute about your life today, right now. Like, just because we are going through this pandemic situation, let us not conclude that just because we were in your academic course of life in this stretch, that means our career is doomed. That is a catastrophized idea about your career. No, your career is not doomed. Yes, I understand that we are going through a difficult time, but something or the other will work out. Something will happen. Even the policymakers, the academic bodies, they too are concerned. They are also trying to come up with some solution or the other. They also, of course, do not want the students to suffer. Trust me. In fact, when we talk about the term forced isolation, we have to understand the purpose. We have to understand the objective of it. It is not a punishment. This is happening because of the health reasons. We know that if we are crowded in one room, the chances of getting infected would increase. So these measures are taken so that we can stay safe. This is a situation which is completely unprecedented. So, in this kind of situation, if there are certain measures that I have to accept for my benefit, for my security, for my safety, for my family's safety, I have to deal with it. I have to come to terms with it. I have to reconcile with it. If we rather look at it that way, we would not feel captivated by the situation. We would understand the need for it, and we would try and form some kind of negotiating skills with it. As far as exams are concerned, of course there would be some anxieties, uncertainties about the mode of exam. We have to realize that when the exams are not happening, conduction of exam is definitely a concern, because we want to make it authenticated. We want to hold the exam in such a way that tomorrow the results would not be questioned. We know that in some situations, online exams that a student might give from home setup might be questioned by another student tomorrow, saying that maybe she was not that way following all the protocols, because the classroom exam situation cannot be recreated right now. So, which is why exam situation is a major challenge right now for all the teachers, for all the academic body members. So, whenever the exam related problems are coming your way, please do not lose heart. And trust me, if you have the right potential, your assessment would not only be done by your semester exam. For example, the situation which we are confronting right now, this pandemic situation, this is the biggest exam life has given us. We were never prepared for it. Today, we understand that there are so many exams for which there is no syllabus, there is no preparation, and we just have to appear. And we have to try and qualify. We may not, that we don't know. Similarly, things that you are learning today, tomorrow, when you will be working in another scenario, in another organization, or in whichever sector, the application of your knowledge will be your actual examination. Trust me, the other scores that concerns you today would not be that important. I know many students who scored wonderfully in their semester's exams and their regular exams, but unfortunately, they were not that successful in their professional career. On the other hand, there were students who were not that good in their classroom exams. They didn't study that much, but they had in-depth knowledge which they actually implemented in their professional life, and they are pretty successful. Nobody remembers the mark sheet other than us. Even we forget at times. We don't remember our marks that we used to get in our school days, right? Do you remember how much you used to get in your, maybe geography exam in class 3 or history exam in your second standard? Do we remember that? No, because it's not important anymore. Similarly, your this year's exam, yes, of course, it carries some value. I completely understand, but that is not everything that you need to hold on to. If it is not coming the way it should come our way, of course, there are certain other things that I'm learning in this academic process that would stay with me. And that would be far more beneficial for the path of my career, as I was talking about the career goal. Perhaps that you have to ask yourself that where do I want to go? Where do I want to see myself? What is the career that I would like to take up? And if that is my goal, if this is my final destination, let me decide various options, various paths to reach for it. If path A is not working out, path B will be there. There is always a second chance, I often believe. There is always a second chance with something else or the other. And sometimes we overvalue the first chances. We never know. Maybe the failure of first chance might give me new lessons, and I would do better when the second chance comes my way. So this is not an absolute situation in any capacity. We would be restless, we would be impatient because we are constantly burning our emotional resources during this pandemic situation. You would often find yourself at the edge. You might feel edgy, low, tired, fatigued, understandable, because we don't have any respite. Earlier, we had one stressful event, and then once we are kind of okay with it, we had our regular lives to actually get back our strength. These days, we are constantly negotiating with stressors. Even if you have to go out for, let's say, buying your essentials, you have to do so many things. Once you're back home, you have to take off your mask, you have to wash it, you have to sanitize your hands, you have to sanitize your phone, this and that. It's tiresome, and it is taking up a lot of energy. That is creating fatigue in us, understandable, which is why our internal energies are being burnt constantly. And that is precisely why you might become impatient. That is precisely why you may become angry at times. You may become irritated, agitated, jittery, understandable. Just that, do not question your these feelings. Sometimes it is important to bow down to our feelings and surrender to them. To tell them that, okay, my dear heart, I understand it's a hard day and it's going to be difficult. I understand. I'm with you. I understand. Be empathetic towards yourself. We often say that people are judgmental towards us. I have often found that we are far more judgmental towards our own selves. We often label ourselves. We often question our own feelings. We are pretty much, critical of our own feelings. We have to be a lot more gentle because the time is very ruthless. We are going through a difficult time. So these are certain things that we can try and do to deal with this forced isolation. One more thing I would tell you, and after that, I would gradually open this platform for questions. Whenever you feel otherwise disconnected from your friends, because in our regular college days, we had the opportunity to talk to our friends, to go to the canteen, to have our own, sweet sweet nothing time with our friends. We used to have our nonsensical chats over something and we used to laugh over it. We do not have such opportunities these days. I would rather tell you, virtually talk to your friends, do video calls and whatever. Please negotiate with your parents also. If they're watching this, please tell them that it's important for you to also stay connected with your peers, with your loved ones, with your friends. Emotionally, you need to be at a better place. Yes, our regular classes are important, but also between the classes, the chit chats that we used to have, you need to have that flavor. Of course, your classroom links will not provide you with that. The link that probably the college is following, it could be StreamYard, Zoom, whatever. There you may not have the opportunity to talk to each other, but at least once the class is done, some of you can form a group through the digital platform and chat with each other. You don't necessarily have to chat only to do joint studies. No, just chat, just have fun. That's understandable, but that's required. You need that. Create space for it. We used to have that space in our university days, in our college days, in those times. You can still create it as in the beginning, as I was hearing that this enabling platform, the digital platform, the student she mentioned about it. I would say that this is actually very true. You have the digital platform with you. In our time, when we were in our younger days, we did not have these platforms. Now that you have the virtual medium, utilize it. I would rather tell you, the students who are there today, that at times we used to complain, right? I mean, the elders, the guardians used to complain that you're constantly hooked to your phone. And we used to, do that. We used to stick to that conversation that we are holding, maybe through WhatsApp, maybe through other social media. Right now, that's all that you have. Earlier, you used to actually do that and you used to be scolded. Since you are far more habituated with that mode, it's time to rather stay in that zone and stay connected. And also, it's my request to all the students, because I have immense faith in the next generation. Trust me, I do not have that much faith in our generation. I'm being very honest with you. Please try and break the stigma about COVID-19. This is also a major challenge which the students can take up. Maybe you can hold some, you know, social media posts, or you can flag some issues. You can do something about it so that people don't behave in such a violent way when somebody is infected. Maybe you can start that from your own, in your own locality, from your own neighborhood. Maybe some of you can form a group to help people, maybe a family where somebody is COVID-19 infected or the family is infected. If there could be some people who can go and keep the daily essentials in front of the gate, these meaningful services will keep you going, trust me. And we are going through a historically challenging time, right? We would remember this, but we should also remember that in this challenging time, what did I do? Did I do anything extra? Life gave us that opportunity. Life gave us the opportunity to add meaning to our lives. Are we doing that enough? Perhaps it's time to also reflect on that, other than thinking about the future course of academic work and the professional life. So now I would end my lecture here, and I would take the questions from the students. So should I rather see the comments, or you think that would be there on the screen and I would take it from there? So what do you suggest? Okay, I can see questions coming in the comment box. Yeah, I can. Okay, yes, the Bolina.
Where is okay, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a wonderful talk, I must say. And the students are so excited, and
I'm
they are
so honored.
constantly saying that at last there is someone to address their problems. So
Thank you.
they are worried about parental expectations. They are worried about their
Hmm, hmm,
examinations. They are
hmm,
also worried about employment, especially the final year students. How are they going to cope
hmm,
up with this kind of
hmm,
the
hmm.
situation that we are into, with news coming that all the big concerns are going
Yeah.
for some sort of so they are,
Hmm,
this is a common question that I think most of the students are asking. So if you can address that about their
Okay.
job crisis after
Mm-hmm.
the final year, and the parental expectations, and
Mm-hmm.
their final year examination, they're very anxious. how are they going to deal with that? So if you can just address
Okay.
that, then I'll go to individual
Yes.
questions as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Debolina. Yes, I think maybe we can sum up these areas initially. As far as the job anxieties are concerned, it's real. This anxiety is very real. Of course, we can see that globally there is an economic crisis happening. There is a major financial dip. So it is definitely not going to be very easy. I would not give you any false promises that the moment you complete your graduation, jobs are almost there. No, in fact, those people who are holding jobs right now are insecure as well. We are already hearing news about salary cut, layoffs. So I can't really say that the job situation is extremely promising because the financial situation is not promising anywhere. But does that mean that, as I was telling you, that you would be unemployed forever? No, I don't think so. Perhaps what we can try and do is, at this point I have to sharpen my skills, my potential, my learning, my professional training part I can take as much as possible, so that whenever the job market is open, I could be one of the important candidates. This is something that I can control. Two, there are differences between career and jobs. As we were talking about it in the initial part of the session, job is something that you can do even temporarily to earn your money. That might not actually decide the course of your career. I'll just give you an example. Maybe career wise you want to be, let's say, you want to be, okay, let's say you want to be in the academic fraternity, you want to be a teacher. But right now, that no school, no college would recruit me because the recruitment process is on hold. So, temporarily, if you decide to do some content development work so that you can earn some money with a particular company, that's a job. That's not a career. I still have a bigger goal to achieve. I have a different dream to achieve. But this is a temporary arrangement so that I have some money with me. So we can rather be a little flexible in terms of earning at this point of time. You can negotiate with your parents. You can talk to your parents that, is it really important for me to earn some amount of money? Well, I personally believe it is all right to actually stay somewhat employed. You can even teach students. You can rather give online tuitions. You can explore that opportunity. That is at least something that is under your control. So right now, let us not be too rigid about the mode of earning. It may so happen that this is not your most preferred area. This is not your final career destination. This is not your final career goal. But at least it would give you the temporary sense of success, the temporary sense of empowerment, because you would be financially somewhat free, empowered. And it would also help you to buy some time. Sometimes we can earn some money temporarily and we can tell our parents that maybe we would go with it for the time being. Let us go a little slow. Once the situation changes, once things are more or less under control, maybe we can take the next course in hand. So this way we can also negotiate with our parents. And as far as parental expectations are concerned, even they are understanding that it's a very difficult situation. Perhaps you can try and have a word with them. Maybe you can also assure them, saying that don't lose hope, don't lose heart. It's not going to be like this forever. Of course, I would be joining other courses. And I also know students who are, still appearing in the entrance exams of various universities. So let us rather stick to it, gather information, stay updated, and do not actually finalize something, conclude something on the basis of today's situation or today's absence of certain requirements, because right now you may not be provided with your preferred mode of earning, your preferred mode of career, but that is not going to decide the entire course of your life.
Yeah, very true.
Hmm.
Now, if I can come to individual, there are many
Yeah.
questions actually, many
Okay.
questions, and
I'm so glad that
so
students
I'll
actually
try
staying
to
back
make.
for the whole session. Yeah, I'm really, really glad about that.
They are extremely happy. As I said, if you can see the comment
Mhm.
box, they are very
Yeah,
happy, and
thank you.
continuously they are saying thoroughly insightful session, and all our doubts are cleared. So we are relaxed. So that is a very good thing
Okay,
in this kind of
I'm
negativities that
very
we are
glad.
into. So,
Mhm.
so coming to Rashmi Chetia,
Mhm.
she writes
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Uh,
Hmm.
how are we supposed to plan for our future career as we
Hmm.
all know that after this situation, most of us will be facing a great competition. So, how should
Hmm.
we prepare ourselves?
Okay. Okay. Reshmi, lovely question. I always believe that when I do not even know with whom I would compete, let me not even think about the competitors. The only person I can think about is again myself. Because even if you are appearing in an entrance exam, let me give you an example. You may not have any idea on that particular day who all will be appearing, how prepared they will be, how wonderfully they will give their exams. These are not the factors that you can control. The only thing that you can control is your own preparation. So again, I would tell you, in fact, following Reshmi's question, I think this is, I mean, probably going to answer many of your questions. That when I am preparing for a certain exam or for a certain course of my, next level, I can only ensure that I am giving my best shot. You decide certain targets for yourself. You decide, okay, which are the universities, which are the next academic institutions that I would like to apply for, which are the courses that I would like to take up, and always keep option B, C, D, E, because we never know. Let us not think that if I don't get option A, that means that is the end of life. No, trust me, it doesn't matter. Maybe you wanted option A, but tomorrow option B can actually work out for you wonderfully. I'll just give you an example. This might give you, some encouragement. I had once come across a person who came to me for personal session. She always wanted to be a part of IIT. She always wanted to crack IIT. I mean, that was like her dream goal, a career goal. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. She couldn't crack IIT exam, and she was devastated. And when she came to me initially for the session, she thought that it's the end of her career. She would never be able to do anything. Her parents were also very sad, etc. Much later, of course, the sessions happened, and she took other subjects and she completed her own academic life. Right now, she's teaching in one of the IIT institutions. So you never know how life changes. She did her PhD from a foreign university in another subject, and she's one of the fraternity academic members in IIT. So you never know. If you think that this is the end of it just because I could not qualify in such and such exam, it is just your today's reality. This reality would not really write your entire biography. Do not ever think in that line.
Yeah, very true. In fact, the kind of competition that students always face, everywhere,
Yeah.
every time, and their parental expectation also is working in a manner at times, even I think we all have seen that. So it's not
Yes.
something
Very true.
very
Very
new.
true.
It's not specifically COVID situation. They are
True.
always
Very true.
into some sort of, rat race, always running after.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
moving on to the next question by Trishita Sen, Lognojita Aditya, Orkoja Chaudhary. Many of them are asking more or less
Mm-hmm.
the same question
Mm-hmm.
that with altered daily routine, we have a problem concentrating on studies, which are most of the time affected by some sort of laziness. And we have tried with some sort of meditation technique, but it isn't helping us in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And we always kind
Mm-hmm.
of feel very anxious. So, ma'am, if you could suggest something.
I believe I had covered it briefly in my session also, that when you're distracted by your anxieties, maybe you can rather keep your studies aside and sit with your anxieties and ask your anxieties, hey, what is it? What do you want to tell me? Because I always believe that things that are disturbing you are important to you, which is why they're disturbing you, which is why it wants to hold a conversation with you. So if you really, put them on pause button, they will come back to you. So it's important to rather spend some time with them. It's like children, they untimely will disturb you if you do not give them attention adequately. So sometimes we have to give attention to our anxieties also. Now, when you have difficulties about laziness, procrastination is something that I have also discussed in my session. Maybe I have to also see that, am I being lazy? Am I being, passive? Am I being too occupied with some, certain random things over phone, just because I want to run away from my anxieties or not? Because sometimes we are constantly checking the phone because we want to be engaged with something which will distract me from my inner noise about the anxiety which is keeping me so disturbed, so restless. Again, I would say that take pause, ask yourself, what am I scared of? ask yourself and then try and see which are those areas that you can control right now. Maybe you can address them, and which are those areas which are not under your control. Like, will I ever have COVID-19? I do not know. But shall I take my precautions? Yes, this is something under control that you can do. You can, of course, wear masks. You can, of course, sanitize your hands, even when you're at home, even when you're touching various surfaces. Before you touch your mouth, your nose, your eye, do sanitize your hand. These things are under your control. So let us not worry about things which we would not be able to solve right away. And another small tip about concentrating and about memorizing, this is an age old technique. Earlier our parents used to say that you study, then I'll ask you the question. Teachers used to say, for the time being, you can become your own mentor, you can follow the technique with yourself. Whenever you're studying something, after the first reading, try to write down the main points in a piece of paper. Maybe there were 5 points. After the first reading, perhaps you remember only 2 of them. Do not be disappointed with yourself. Give another reading. Maybe after second reading, you would see that yes, now I can remember all 5 of them. This means your brain is giving you signal that I need another exposure. Sometimes we are under the impression that we are prepared, but we are actually not prepared. It's like, if you listen to a song once, second time when you're listening to that song, you may feel that, hey, I know this song. No, you don't know this song. You can just recognize the song. Similarly, when you're reading something, you may be under the impression that yes, I'm done with it. You're not done with it. You will not be able to recollect it only after one reading. You will be able to recognize this as familiar. That is not enough to write your answers. That is just enough to understand, हाँ हमने कहीं पे पढ़ा था. That is different. And that would not help you as much as, your recollection process can be helped through repeated trials. So whenever you're studying and you know that I study and then I forget, maybe you can read and write. This age old technique can be extremely helpful to memorize the information that you are incorporating.
Coming to the next question by Arushi Shaha, and she writes, in face of COVID-19, there are so many economic problems around. Students are rushing to take job as fast as possible. So how can we, even at this time, encourage them to focus on certain humanistic ways of learning and not become absolutely mechanical?
Interesting question, Arush. Thank you. Well, I would say that we never know another person's life and the situation. We cannot be again judgmental that why are you taking up job? Why don't you have some humanistic values? Maybe there is financial requirement in the family. So let me not decide on somebody else's behalf. I don't think that we should do. At at the most, what we can do is we can hold a conversation with the student that, do you think it is absolutely necessary for you to start earning right away? Is this a situation maybe in the family front that you have to contribute? Maybe we can understand the situation. Let us not conclude on somebody's behalf, because we do not know what the situation is in that household, in that family. Secondly, if we realize that no, it's just that this person wants to earn money, I do not see there is any problem in earning money. But at the same time, can we also tell the student that, okay, side by side, simultaneously, can we also do something where you can develop yourself further so that you can earn better? Let's say if I'm graduate, the kind of jobs that I would get, if I am a postgraduate, then I would have better opportunities. So while doing my masters, can I simultaneously also do something where my earning will also be ensured, and at the same time I would be able to, develop myself for my future course of career? So this conversation we can rather try and hold with that person than discouraging completely about the earning pattern, because money is needed. We never know that why the other person decides to earn. So let us not, let us not discourage the earning bit. Let us rather try and empower this person holistically, but by giving certain other options.
Okay. Sunita Jaiswal, she asks that, that is, I think, a question I think many of the students also asked, how to deal with our dear ones who have lost one of their family members due to this pandemic, and we are not present, we can't visit them, and though they need help. So if you can, suggest something.
Okay. Well, I think this is a very, very difficult situation in terms of the sense of loss when we have to deal with it. Particularly, we know that in COVID situation, once somebody is admitted in the hospital, we are not allowed to visit that person. Even when one dies, it's a death where nobody can actually visit that person. We do not even have the scope of closure, which is extremely painful. We can't even have the last rites of that person. We can't even be a part of it, which is extremely heavy a situation, extremely painful. There is no doubt about it. um, this is what I have always believed, my dear, about the sense of loss. We must never rush with sense of loss. You know, when somebody dies in the family, I've often heard people come and they say that, abhi, you have to be very strong, because you have to move on. देखो तुम्हारे लिए तो ये लोग जिंदा है, इनके लिए तुमको खुश रहना पड़ेगा. I don't believe in such things. I believe we all have every right to mourn, to take some time out for the pain that we have to endure. If I have a sense of loss, I should allow myself to mourn, I should allow myself to cry, I should allow myself to bear the pain that it entails. Because today, if I run away from this pain would also follow me for the rest of my life. But then again, with time, again, I have seen the amount of pain, the amount of heaviness that one has at this point after this loss, that generally gets diluted, over time. It's like today I might think about it at every minute. Maybe after 2 years, I would think about it maybe once in a week. Then again, maybe once in a month. But again, maybe one day I would suddenly remember something and I would break. It's possible. And I think in terms of this, when we are dealing with sense of loss, particularly at this time when so many people are confronting this, we have to be emotionally empathetic towards each other. We have to see that the emotional loss cannot be repaired, cannot be substituted, but at least the logistical support can be provided to the respective families. Which is why at the end of my session I was talking about, removing the stigma part, particularly if we know that there is a death that had happened in our neighborhood or in the building or in the family. How can we emotionally avail ourselves to that family? How can we rather try not to make them feel isolated, alienated from the other members? This is something that is very much there under our control. Of course, we cannot repair the pain, we cannot repair the loss, we cannot substitute the loss, but at least we can try and make their lives less miserable by, creating certain social or collective platforms where these people would not feel stigmatized or isolated by the larger community members.
Wonderfully said, ma'am. That's wonderfully said. I think that is going to help all of us at the same time, because we
Yes,
all are going through same situation.
true.
Do
Very
you have much time to take, say, two, three
Yeah,
questions?
yes, definitely, yeah.
sure.
Okay. Okay. Then I can move on to this question.
Hmm.
Just There are so many questions coming that it's becoming a bit
I
difficult to find out the
I
question.
can understand. Yeah.
Um, okay, just okay. So Sritama Dotto Rai, she writes, at this point of
Mm-hmm.
time, most of the companies have frozen their hiring. Finally,
Mm-hmm.
students who are supposed to be employed by this time are simply unemployed. So, how to
Hmm.
cope up with this situation?
I think I have already answered this part,
Yes,
Debolina. As I was saying that,
yes, yes,
yeah, I think I have talked about that. I could just see one question from here. Preeti has written, so I would like to take this
okay.
question because it's a different
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
This
sure.
is about if I
Yeah,
fail in the
sure.
first attempt of IIT Jam, should I drop a year? Can I take that question, Debolina? I can see because it's a different
Sure,
sort of a
sure,
question.
sure.
It's about, yeah,
Absolutely.
because it's about coping
Yes,
with failure, and Preeti has written this. But I'm sure this is not only Preeti's question. Many of you, as students, may
definitely.
come up with this problem that if there is a sense of failure, particularly if you are a topper, one may feel that I this fear is haunting me. What if I fail? What will I do? Shall I drop the year? This is what Preeti had asked. I would always believe, and I still do, there is no fixed topper anywhere. That's the first thing that I would tell you. When we say that I'm a topper, you are thinking that it's a fixed position. There is no fixed position. There is no fixed position for the person who's coming first. There is no fixed position for the person who's failing. Positions change. So do not think about any exam situation as the final, the absolute, the utmost one. Priti, if you want to drop a year, that's fine. But whenever you go for any competitive exam, it is not only for you, dear, it is true for all of us. We will have the chances of being successful, we will have the chances of being failed. Both the chances will coexist. We know that. So I have to know again that I would give my best shot, even if I cannot qualify. That does not make me any less. Maybe that was not the day when I could, be the best. Maybe others performed better, which you cannot understand before you appear the exam. So I would take a chance. If it didn't work out, it will not work out. Because whenever we are appearing in larger exams, in the bigger spectrums, we do not know the potential of our other competitors. In your classrooms, you know who all are competing with you. You more or less know who's good in which subjects, who's not that good. So you know how you should prepare in order to be the top or be at the top. But when you're preparing for the competitive exams, you do not have that opportunity because you do not even know who all are going to come in that examination. So in these exams, we have to tell ourselves that this is not going to decide my true potential. My true potential would not be decided only by my today's result. So Priti, if you want to go for it, go for it. Do not even think about whether you would be successful or you would fail. Even if you fail, how does it matter? There will be other chances anywhere, maybe with the same exam or some other exams, and that would not make you any less. You're good enough, and always know that in your stomach.
Uh, there is a question by Shomdatta Shen. How to deal with obsessive compulsive disorder when it has been triggered due to certain external problems of COVID 19?
See, it is difficult to answer like this because one has to understand exactly what are the symptoms, what exactly is happening. But if it is already a diagnosed problem, since you are mentioning about obsessive compulsive disorder, so I can presume that somebody has already made the diagnosis. If it is severe, of course, it needs proper clinical intervention. Sometimes psychiatric medication along with therapy will be required because we have to understand what are the obsessive thoughts that are triggered because of the situation, and then we have to help the person with the coping strategies. Because the exclusive thoughts that are happening in the headspace, first we have to understand that, and since it is extremely personal, perhaps it needs to be understood from that person's perspective. It cannot be said in a generic way because it varies from person to person. Generally, we can confuse the hand washing and these behaviors with OCD behaviors. Perhaps we also have to understand that right now, even if a person is too scared of germs, it is not OCD. It is a real fear. In fact, sometimes I have heard people saying that we should rather follow those people who are germ phobic because their measures will be helpful right now. People who used to have compulsions of washing hands and sanitizing hands, maybe they are far safer at this point. Maybe we have to follow their rituals. So let us also not label just by seeing a certain external behavior, because in this kind of an abnormal situation, an abnormal behavior can be termed as normal because the situation is such. Uh, you're muted, Debolina. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes,
Madhura
absolutely.
Sen asks, ma'am, as a person who overthinks to the point that it makes me physically ill, how do I stop myself from jumping into the worst conclusion even before there is a problem?
Okay, thank you, Madhura. This is what I had briefly mentioned about, worrying too much about the future in my session. As I was saying in my session, that when you're overthinking about something which is not right now in front of you, which is not directly under your control, of course, that anxiety can take take a toll on your health. In fact, we have often seen that when we suffer from some panic symptoms, these symptoms can even overlap with COVID symptoms. For example, you may have shortness of breath, you may have dry cough, you may feel feverish, you may have palpitation just out of anxiety. Maybe there is no other physical ailment, but your body is actually alarmed by your fear, and the physiological responses are happening in such a way that you fall sick. So once you have identified that you overthink, once you know that, Madhura, you have already won half the battle, because you have that insight, you have that self awareness. Maybe what you can try and do is, there is a small technique that one can follow. Whenever you're worrying too much, ask yourself, okay, today, for example, 26th of July, 8:10 p.m., do I have any problem on my plate? This is a typical here and now technique. You can ask yourself this question. This technique can be followed by all of us. Ask yourself, 26th of July, 8:10 p.m., do I have any problem? You would find mostly the answer is no. Right now, you do not have a problem. Right now, if you had that problem, then you would have been with the problem. You were probably, up to solving it. Since you're brooding over it, that means you're not in this. You're not in it. Either you're thinking about something which is about the future, or you're thinking about something which has already happened. Now, if it is a part of your past, you can't undo it. If it is something about your future, again, everything is not going to be our control. Maybe we can plan up some parts which we can, take into our consideration, but the rest of it can be dealt with once it appears. It may so happen that you would be overthinking about problem A, and problem B will come your way. So, what is the point of burning all my emotional resources for problem B when we do not even know which problem will finally knock at the door?
Uh, I think we can take the last question then.
Yes,
Ma'am,
yes,
if you,
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
okay.
sure. Yeah,
So
sure.
it's Oishi Mishra, and I think
Mhm.
it's quite similar, but still I'll ask the question:
Mhm. Sure.
how to keep myself mentally empowered and equip
Mhm.
myself rightly, and uh, 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 and not clog our mind with unsettling thoughts, because it keeps
Mhm.
triggering in my headspace, and at the end I'm left unproductive.
Okay. As I was saying, repeatedly, that if you have certain thoughts which are disturbing you, troubling you, which are making you restless, it is important to understand why they are generated. What are those thoughts? Because self awareness, this introspective journey, is extremely helpful. Once you know these thoughts, once you know the sources, then only you can decide that how to deal with them. And once you're thinking about these thoughts, let us also not feel too disempowered in the hands of your thoughts, because finally your fear, your anxiety, your anger, your irritation, I believe they're all your subordinates. You're the final boss. You have the agency in your hand. Do not ever forget that. If you want to say that, shut up, I don't want to listen to you, you can try and do that. At least you can say that, okay, I would talk to you later, let me finish this task fast. At least you can do that. You can first, finish some work that are there in your hand, and then you can go back to your thoughts. You can try and do that. And as far as being self empowered is concerned, that's a wonderful thought. Maybe what we can do is we can try and be empowered by accepting that there are moments when I may feel disempowered. It is not an absolute state. There are moments when I will fall flat on my face, but that's not it. I will get up, I will, undust myself, I would readjust, I would realign, and I will go on. That is the courage. It is not about being problem free. It is not about being strong all the time. It is important to feel that there are moments when I would be disempowered. There are moments when I would break down. There are moments when I will be anxious. It is okay to feel these things, but it is important to understand them, to negotiate with them, and to go on knowing the fact that I integrate all my emotions. Negative emotions, positive emotions, all are part of me, and I have the final word. I have the final say.
Okay, so that's wonderful. And I must once
Thank you.
again thank you for this
Thank
wonderful
you.
session. Not only the students, but all of us are benefited in our own way. And we are extremely, as I said, we are very thankful for this session. And the students, I must say that they are
Thank you
very
so much, Debolina.
happy to have this session. because they are really anxious. The way that we have to think of online classes, we have to think of examination
True.
process. Everything is in such a
Hmm.
chaotic state that they don't know,
Very
even
true.
we are struggling with everything. So I hope everything
Absolutely.
will, at least they will have some sort of mental relaxation after having this wonderful 1 hour session. So that
I
was
hope
really
so.
wonderful. So may I now request our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Shuchanda Ghosh, to deliver the vote of thanks. So, Shuchanda Di, if she is, yeah, she is here.
Yeah,
Right.
she's here. Thank you, Debolina. On behalf of the organizing team, the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, the NSS unit, and the Students' Council of Shri Shikshayapan College, I will take this opportunity to thank our honorable speaker for the evening, Dr. Anuttama Banerjee, for such a motivating talk. I hope that our students, as well as us, the participating faculty, will try to incorporate the life skill tips that you now shared with us today in our daily course, and we'll try to tide over this trying time of our life. I would thank the management of our college and our principal, Madam Dr. Aditi Day, for being there throughout and making this program possible. I will thank the technical support team of our college for their help. And obviously, I would thank all our participants, especially our students, for their such enthusiastic participation, and with the hope that we shall overcome someday. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So much.